I don't know how to cut it. They, seems
Okay.
working. Seems working.
Stop recording.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to this webinar focusing on intelligent street light procurement and the story from Copenhagen. My name is Anja de Cunto and I work at Eurocities, the network of major European cities here in Brussels, as funding and financing coordinator, which is just a fancy title to see that I work on many different funding, financing, but also procurement dossier, among which innovative procurement, which is an extremely interesting new type of procurement that cities are testing nowadays. Together here with me, I have Louise Ratlev, who is program manager at the City of Copenhagen, and Stine Ellermann, who is the contract manager at the City of Copenhagen. I also would like to mention that this webinar is jointly organized between the SPICE project, of which we're going to hear a little bit just in a few minutes, and also the European Innovation Partnership of Smart Cities and Communities, about which I will also tell you just a little bit after hearing about the rules of today's webinar. So in order to have a very clear audio for everyone, and in order to allow everybody not to be forced with background noise, all the participants are in listen-only mode. Which means you're not able to directly interact with us, but you can do so by using the chat. So on the right side of your screen, you should be able to see a menu, which should showcase to you both how to watch our the presentation that you're currently seeing, but also if you have issue with your audio, you should be able to click on audio setup from this menu. As mentioned, if you have any question, you're more than welcome to type them using the chat. We are here throughout the entire presentation if you have any issue. And you're also able to type question throughout the entire presentation. Only the questions related to the presentation will be asked only at the end during the question and answer session. So this is just a bit of introduction on how to use the question tool, and in case you would like to also directly ask a question, if you have a very complicated question and it's too long to type and you have a very good audio setup, you're also welcome to raise your hand, and according to time availability we will give you the possibility to speak and interact directly with us. I would also like to add that this webinar is recorded, and you will see the recording of, they will receive the recording of the webinar a few days after this, together with the presentation. So don't worry if you miss a slide, you will be able to re-look at it later, and also share it with your colleagues, of course. A little bit about the SPICE project. SPICE project is a Horizon 2020 funded project, which is about support procurement for innovation, transport and mobility solution in city environment. I must admit I've heard already quite a lot about the project. It became really famous for their achievement that they are, and their interesting publication and webinars that they are doing together with the City of Copenhagen, who is the project leader, coordinator, and the city of Tampere and the city of Hamburg. Put together, they are and the city of also from the innovation agency from the city of Helsinki. Together, they would like to look at to create a common buyer groups for everything related to innovation, transport, and procurement. So if you want to know more about the project, feel free to go to visit the website or the LinkedIn group. Now just a little bit about the European Innovation Partnership for Smart Cities and Communities. You might have heard slightly less about it if you are an aficionado of the SPICE project. We try to collaborate together. We do collaborate together. The initiative is an initiative from the European Commission, and it's about simply bringing together cities, industry, citizens, but also research organization, SMEs, bank or financial provider to discuss integrated solution for smart cities. We are divided because smart cities is a very complicated type of work, and it encompasses many different areas. Here it's a more or less an overview of the type of discussion that we currently have in the initiative. So personally, the Eurocities is leading the business models, finance and procurement action cluster, which is another word for simply saying a working group of different type of stakeholders. So again, we have local authorities, we have financial provider, researcher, SMEs. They get together and they discuss issue and possibility to replicate successful business models, but also procurement schemes. Just last time we discussed many different issues related to cross-border procurement, and one of the next topic is also going to be, again, innovation procurement. And even the city of Lisbon is going to discuss possibility to do cross-border innovation procurement, which is going to be probably the next tools that city are going to use in the future for developing smart city solution. But we also focus on citizens or sustainable urban mobility, sustainable district and energy. So there is a variety of topics that are being discussed in different level of working group, as much for all the different possibility that you are interested into. Next slide. Oh, no problem. In just a little bit in specific about the action cluster on business models, finance and procurement, we simply mentioned that the current instrument and procurement schemes do not fit today's challenge within cities, particularly when you're trying to implement smart city solutions that are innovative by definition, they are complicated and they are very risky. So we believe that there is a strong need for knowledge sharing and exchange between all the different actors that are involved in developing smart city solution. To do so, we also build quite a lot on the results of key initiatives like the SPICE project, but also the Smart Cities Lighthouse project, a group of cities that is currently trying to implement a different type of smart city solution on their territory. In case you're interested to know more about what we do, for example, we have currently developed a funding and financing interactive guide. This is a very let's say, basic guide on different funding and financing opportunities that are available for cities, but also for organizations like citizens organization or SMEs if they want to work on developing smart city solution. We're also currently working on a library for smart cities business models, which is going to enable cities that are interested in replicating successful business model to look what are the basic future that the successful business models that have been implemented in other cities. If you have a successful business models, you're also very welcome to contribute with it. We also organize different webinars and events, for example, like the jointly one organized today, but we also had a one just 2 days ago focusing on smart cities business models examples from Amsterdam. We also have, of course, events. The next one is going to be just in a couple of weeks in Brussels, next 20th of June 2017, and it's going to be alongside the Sustainable Energy Week. So a very interesting week related to different type of discussion related to energy, sustainable energy. We're also going to have our General Assembly, please already save the date, the next 12th October in Brussels, as well in Brussels. So this was everything from my side. If you have any question related to our work or possibility for collaboration, you're very welcome to send us an email to businessmodels@eusmartcities.eu or contact me afterwards during the question and answer session. Now we go to the clue of today's webinar, which is not about the European Innovation Partnership, but about the best practice from the city of Copenhagen and their tendering process for the renewal of their entire lighting system, which costed around 33 million euro, I've read. So we are here today with us Stine Ellerman, who is the lighting engineer, and Louise Ratleff, who is the contract manager. Stine, the word is yours.
Thank you. As said, my name is Stine. I'm a lighting engineer in Copenhagen. I've been in Copenhagen for 4 years.
Stine, sorry,
I'm working with the street lighting.
Stine, I'm really sorry. I'm forced to interrupt you. Your voice was very good quality until 5 minutes ago, and now there is a lot of background noise again, and also.
I think it's because you have to mute Louise's.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We mute one. Sorry. Then I apologize with our attendant, just 1 minute in order to make sure the quality of the audio of Stina is good again. How can I mute them panelists? Delete. Sorry, apologies once again, just 1 minute for technical difficulties, trying to make sure that the quality of the audio is as good as possible.
Okay.
Okay,
Is this
yeah,
better?
try again. Perfect.
Okay. My name is Stine and I'm a lighting engineer in Copenhagen and been working here for 4 years, and I'm together with Louise, who has been in the city of Copenhagen for 7 years. The street lighting of Copenhagen is a system of around 45,000 fixtures. We have the recent years been through a procurement process for operation and maintenance of the whole street light system, together with a large renewal project for changing to LED. And we will give first a short introduction and then go into detail about the procurement process, and then afterwards we will give details about our renewal project. Next slide. Yes, so here we see how the street lighting looked in 2014. We had a mixture of different lighting solutions, from high pressure sodium and fluorescent tubes to metal halide and LED. The blue and white that you see are metal halide and LED, and the orange and yellow are sodium and fluorescent tubes. And then if we change to the next slide, you will see in 2017 that after our renewal project we have changed to LED, so the city looks quite different today than it did 3 years ago if you look at the lighting part. The next slide. We have the background for the procurement and the tender was that that Copenhagen has a very ambitious climate plan to be CO2 neutral in 2025. And since street lighting is a very large consumer in the municipality's electricity consumption, it's a key factor to achieve energy reductions in the street lighting system. So together with energy savings, it was important to start to look at some of the oldest part of the system because some of the fixtures were more than 40 years old. Finally, the technology development in the lighting industry makes it possible to give much better light quality today than we have with more old fixture types. So in this slide you will see that the what you can say the energy saving goals for the street lighting was back in 2011 to achieve 20% savings, and then in 2015 to 17 it was a 57% saving compared to 2010. Now we will look at the procurement. So if you take the next slide. Next slide.
I am already. You need next slide again?
Yeah. No, this is fine. Back. One back.
I would like to invite you to speak a bit louder if possible.
Yes, I will.
Great, thank you.
Can you go back one slide? Yes, thank you. The procurement was a mix of our large renewal project together with a very long operation and maintenance contract. This is the reason for that was that we were very much had a focus on having a partnership with the contractor and having continuously dialogue to improve and maintain the system. And furthermore, it gave us a higher level of security because a large renewal project can give complications afterwards and have some defaults and so on. But having this project as a start of the OMN or operation and maintenance contract, it was a safer choice for us to have the operation and maintenance partner to also be the contractor on the renewal project. I think now we'll go into more detail about the specific procurement process, and here Louise will take over from me.
Yes, so let's go to next slide. Yeah, this is just to give you an overview of the total process in relation to procurement. We went from June 12 to October 13, which is quite a long period. If you see the fourth square, it says that the dialogue process went from December 12 to March 13, so it was quite around 4 months. It is a long and it's a very expensive process to do the dialogue, not only for the city of Copenhagen but also for the participants that were pre-qualified. The city of Copenhagen chose to pay each participant an amount of money to cover some of the cost in relation to travel and working hours. So they were paid around 27,000 euros for participating in the dialogue and around 13,000 euros to handing in a conditional offer. It didn't quite add up to what the participant used in hours and travel expenses. Some of them told us afterwards that they were using around 140,000 euros. So that is quite expensive. Next slide. And why we chose competitive dialogue was to, we had a very complex task, as Stine told, that included both construction work and O&M. So we wanted to ensure innovation, and we wanted to ensure that we were putting the right requirements in our contract throughout, that would last throughout the whole long-term contract. Fixtures and light sources develop very rapidly, so we needed to make sure that we didn't do any requirements that could not be actual in the end of the contract. The needs of the city will change during the contract. We didn't know exactly how long the contract would last, but we knew we wanted a long-term, longer than 8 years, which we are used to in our earlier contracts. We also wanted to get recommendations from the suppliers on the level of requirements, and we also wanted to use their in-depth technical knowledge. The dialogue gets the opportunity to know the city better, both what possibilities and challenges there is in our city, and it makes better solutions and lower risk for both the supplier and the Copenhagen in the end. Advantages of long-term period of operation, and also by putting in a renewal project in one tender, ensures high level of quality in the long-term maintenance after renewal. That was what Stine told, that what they put up and change in our lighting system, they have to maintain for many years afterward. We think it gave them encouragement to find functional and optimized processes in O&M. It is in their own interest to do things as easy and smooth as possible, and it is also in their own interest to think innovative and do high-level technical knowledge solutions in the projects they're doing in Copenhagen. We think it ensures us commitment and ownership by doing a long-term contract. Next. This is just to give you an overview of how many people was participating in the dialogue. It is many hours and many people, both from the city and also from our advisors. Not everyone was participating in every meeting, but most of the people were in and out of the meeting during the day. Next. This is just to give you an overview of the individual meetings. We had 4 meetings that were planned from the beginning, and then we added 1/5 meeting after the 4th meeting, because there were some of the participants that were asking because they had some needs and some clarifying questions for contract. But we started with an info meeting in December, and we ended with the technical meeting in March, and then shortly after the 5th meeting also in March. Yeah, next. This is to give you an idea on what we were focusing on in each dialogue meeting. The first meeting was kind of an info meeting, which had the focus to give an overall view of the process. What was our visions and goals? What was the actual process? Time schedule, expectations and requirements. And then the last point, confidential dialogue. That was a crucial issue for us to even be able to carry out this process. The participants were a little bit worried about, can you call it business secrets? And they were anxious to share some of their good ideas if some could seek and apply for access afterward. So that was a crucial issue for us. Yeah, next slide. The second dialogue meeting was a technical meeting with focus on aspects in broad sense, like the overall technical decisions. We discussed aesthetics and design and technologies and optimization of the process. We actually went more or less through our appendixes in relation to technical issues. We had the chance to give our demands as an owner and our expectations and wishes for the agreement, and they had the chance on the meeting to meet that and to give us some good ideas and some suggestions on how to do it. So this was only technical issues in this meeting. Yeah, next one. The third dialogue meeting was with contractual issues. It was more or less on legal and finance condition, the model of collaboration. We wanted to set up a model for a partnership. So we didn't only want a supplier, but we wanted a partner. The links and the content of the contract were discussed, and we were actually open for proposals for amendments, so they could come with some quite specific issues to change in the contract. So they have been preparing a lot for this meeting. We also went through opportunities in financing of the renewal project, but as Stine told, we had money to do municipal funding. So we just didn't want to close any doors if there was any good business cases in doing it otherwise. The agreement was the documents in the background for this meeting, but also some of the appendixes. So contractual issues were discussed. Next. The fourth dialogue meeting was also a technical meeting, but was much more exact and specified on technical aspects. What was the options? What was the possibilities? Specific ideas and suggestions for also document changes in appendixes in relation to O&M and construction. So actually we took all the issues from the second dialogue meeting, and we opened up for going deeper in the fourth dialogue meeting. And actually after this fourth meeting, we decided to have a fifth meeting to talk about the agreement during to these changes from the fourth dialogue. Next. These are some of the conclusions we had to do during the process. Some of the experiences that we hadn't taken into account from the beginning, and one of them were the meters in the cabinet. We didn't expect an expense this big, but all the suppliers were very aware of this, and actually showed us the calculation of the cabinets. So this was quite a big surprise for us, actually. The municipal borders, it's the borders between the municipalities around Copenhagen are not quite clear. So we needed to clean up those fixtures that are not in the municipality of Copenhagen. So this was a whole new project to get in contact with other municipalities to do arrangement on how to clean up and get straight lines. Also, one of the big issues was top limit in repairs due to vandalism. In some of our other contracts, we don't have a top limit, so we have a lot of discussion whether it is vandalism or on their if they should do the cost. But if we did a top limit, we would lower the risk for the supplier, and that would put down the total cost of the O&M. Yeah, next. Offers. This was some of the offers, this was all of the offers that were handed in. One of the participants chose to withdraw just before handing in the offer. So only 3 participants handed in an offer. There was quite big difference in the tender material. As you see, some of the boxes were very big and some very small. The participant who didn't turn in the offer, we had evaluation meeting afterward just to know if we could have done anything differently. Actually, this came from, it came out of that the participant didn't have back-to-back agreements in relation to light sources, so the energy requirements we set up was a little bit tough, and they were not sure that they could fulfill that requirement. So our legislation, or how you say, yeah, it was there was some quite big cost if they didn't reach the requirements of the energy savings. So that's why they chose to withdraw. Next. This is just shortly the balanced evaluation criteria, just to show that the energy and environmental quality was the most important criteria for City of Copenhagen. Not only the price, but also the quality was as big as the price. So we chose to have some values on energy and to quality to do a higher criteria balance than on price. So price was not our main goal. Yeah. Next. Lessons learned from the dialogue. Pros was that we had a constructive and valuable process that was suitable for this complex tender. We already felt that we knew the partner, and the partner already knew the city very much, very well when we were signing the contract. So it gave us a very good start. Risks were minimized because of the requires were so focused, so we got a better price in the end. We had customized requirements, so we had extra focus on certain aspects which were how you say, recommended from our suppliers. Cons is that it is very time consuming for both stakeholder and bidders. We underestimated from the beginning. We didn't have a lot of experience with these kind of process. This was the first time that the City of Copenhagen did a process like this, so we underestimated it from the beginning. So it took a lot more time than we expected. It was an expensive dialogue both for the bidders and for the City of Copenhagen. As you saw in one of the earlier slides, we were quite a lot of people involved in over 1 year, so expensive. And we were, after the dialogue process, we were rewriting our tender document, and that was a larger task than expected. We did, or we sent out the first cast of the tender document before the dialogue process started, and it turned out very differently after we went through the dialogue, because we had more knowledge, and we were more. It was much more shaped on which direction we wanted to go. So I think in another time we would need to be more realistic about the time consuming in relation to rewriting the tender documents. Yeah, next.
Okay, this is Stine again. I will talk to you about the renewal project because now the tender is completed, as you can say, and we had to start the renewal project, which was done in the beginning of the contract. You see here some of the main numbers from the renewal project. We've changed 20,000 fixtures to LED. We've changed 8,000 old poles and just over 1,000 cabinets. This renewal project was based on a business case model that was worked out before the tender process, which said that it was a positive business case to change the fixtures with a payback time of 10 years. And then if we add the poles, which do not themselves give any energy savings, it was a payback time of 25 years. But with a life expectancy of over 40 years, it's still a positive business case for Copenhagen. The business case was made from a model where we had energy savings of 50%. So therefore that was a requirement in the tender process that there had to be more than 50% energy savings compared to 2010. The offer that Citylum, which is a French company that won the contract, they offered an energy savings of 57%, as mentioned earlier, which they have delivered today. The renewal project had a cost of around 36 million euros and had to be done within a year and a half due to more expected or more digging work than first expected. The project ended up taking just more than 2 years. So in the bottom you can see the yearly power savings. This is only based on this project. So it's not the 57% compared to 2010, but only if you look at the renewal project as one project, there is a savings of 7.3 gigawatt hours per year, which is just around 1.6 million euros in electricity bill savings. Next. The renewal project started with Citylum creating a master plan for the renewal project. In the master plan we had meetings with all the local councils of Copenhagen to point out critical areas of each neighborhood. So we were certain that we got as many aspects in the project as possible, and also to explain to the local neighborhoods what the project was about and how it would affect their living situation. You see in this slide the analysis made on each different part of the city. You can see both an analysis of how the living quarters look like, what kind of building type is it, or what kind of special need it is, and what fixtures should be chosen to each neighborhood of the city. To your far right, you can see that the chosen color temperature for each street, because it was chosen to make an hierarchy in the color temperature, so that there would be differentiated between the larger traffic streets and the more local streets in each neighborhood. So we have in the traffic streets we have a color temperature of 4000 Kelvin, and on the local streets we have a color temperature on 3000 Kelvin. Next. Here you see some of the fixture choices for the renewal project. The specific fixture choices was a part of the tender process and was chosen by Citylum and part of the evaluation on which type of fixture and what type of architectural touch each bidder came in with. So Citylum suggested a new fixture for Copenhagen called Thor from Thorn Lighting, which has been implemented on all traffic streets in Copenhagen. Then we have on all the local streets we have Nyx and Lunia by Focus and Svargo. And then on some of our squares and special parts of the city we have other fixtures. A part of our renewal project was also changing all our old gas fixtures, not from gas but from white sun light source to LED. So now all the old gas fixtures in our inner city are also with LED.
Stine, I'm really sorry.
Next.
I'm a bit conscious of the time, and I see a lot of questions that are coming. So if you could please maybe speed it up a bit. I'm really, really sorry about it.
Okay, I will try.
Thank you.
It's okay. Here you see, as I told before, the differentiated in the color temperature from the local streets to the traffic streets. Next. As a lighting engineer, I think the light quality is a very big part of this renewal project. We have had high pressure sodium on all our traffic streets, and today we have LED. That's quite a big change from the orange light with more two-dimensional city, like a cityscape, to the white light where more colors are visible and you can get a better orientation of the area that you are in. Next. This is a more detailed light calculation because we in our project had a very high focus on light for pedestrians and bicycles because we have a lot of those in Copenhagen. So we had requirements on plus classes for the lighting for the soft pedestrians and bicycles. And here you can see some of the outcome with quite high uniformity and lux levels. Next. Now we have some examples from what the streets look like today. This is Thor on one of our main streets. In Copenhagen we have a lot of wire suspension, so that's a main part of the Copenhagen lighting system. Next. Here we also see Thor on one of the larger traffic streets in Copenhagen, and you can see here the high level of light for both bicycles and pedestrians. Next. Here we see a local street where we beforehand had old electricity supply poles with cables running across them, and now all the cables have been put into the ground and we get a much cleaner look on all the local streets with a very discrete fixture. Next. And then on one of our squares in Copenhagen we have introduced a new fixture for Copenhagen, Beko from Focus Lighting, which gives a warm park feel, you can say. Next. This is some examples of the energy savings from changing from sodium and fluorescent tubes and mercury to LED, where you see the very high savings from 170 watt to 55 watts today. Another part of this big renewal project is that all the fixtures now are with remote control, which gives us the possibilities to individually dim the fixtures so that we only put out the light needed for the specific road type and the width of the road and so on. So many of the fixtures are not today at 100% light output, but only at 70 or 85%. So that gives us an additional energy savings. Next. This is the energy savings you can see per year from 2003, and we actually today use less than half of what we did in 2010. Next. This is just to show the big work going into changing 20,000 fixtures and having to take an active or to approve all the locations for the new fixtures and masts. So here you can see an example of planning the new placement of the poles and fixtures. Next. So a big part of this renewal project was also to implement a network in all the fixtures. Here you see a Tor fixture with an added network node so that we can have remote control of all fixtures in the city. It's a radio network, mesh network, so that each fixture talks to the next and so on. It gives us the possibility to do the individual adjustment and also to add dimming profiles more advanced than earlier, so we can have specific dimming profiles for example, weekend nights and other special scenarios. It gives us a heightened O&M because the fixtures reports makes a report to the contractor if there's failure on the fixture, so that they can be fixed in a very quick way. The network also gives us a city-wide network so that we all over the city today have a network implemented, so we have the possibility to in the future to add a lot of extra qualities to both our lighting, but also to, for example, to combine with traffic signals or other smart city initiatives. We have a city-wide network already to implement and build on top of. So that's also what you see here, the idea of what can we do in the future. We now have a test of detection of bicycles so that we can give extra focus to the bicycles in the night hours, because also bicycles and pedestrians have a very high focus in Copenhagen because of the very large numbers. So we hope in the future that we can both combine with traffic signals and do special lighting for example bicycles, cars, buses, trucks, if there's accidents, events or other occasions. That might be possible in the future. So the last slide, we have going into this smart city era, you can say, we have a lot of collaborations. It all builds on the goal of being carbon neutral in 2025. That's a driver for many things here in Copenhagen. And we also, on that background, have what we call Copenhagen Solutions Lab, which tests a lot of the smart city equipment and that the different partners are now starting to produce. We have a partnership in Lighting Metropolis, which is an EU-funded project in Scandinavia, working on doing demo projects for smart lighting solutions. Then of course we have a very tight partnership with Citylum, which is our contractor, together to develop the city system, both for lighting and other parts. And then finally we have gotten the honor to host the ITS World Congress in 2018. So that would be very interesting to see how much can gather in Copenhagen next year. That was all from us. The last slide is our contact details. If there should be any questions or further collaborations afterwards, you're welcome to contact us. Thank you.
Thank you very much to both you, Stine and Louise, for their very interesting presentation. You confirm more than once again that cities have they can use procurement as one of their most useful tool in order to implement a change in the city, but also that they have to do this together with a very strong dialogue with the different stakeholders. We are starting to, we already have 4 questions, but I invited all the attendees to just use the chat in order to add additional one. Get ready, Stine and Louise, because there are quite a lot of very detailed questions. For example, I'll start by my first question, which was, have you finally done calculation concerning how much it costs and how much is gonna be the savings in terms for your city? So the entire process, I guess you have overall figure how much it costs in terms of staff time, and for example, you mentioned that you have provided some financing for the people that participated in the dialogue, and then how much it was in comparison with all the savings that you're gonna achieve thanks to your transformation.
We have not made specific calculations of the total cost, both for internal employees and external, so we can't compare in that sense. But since we have built the what you can say the renewal project on a business case with a 50% saving in energy, and we have ended up with a saving of 57%, we have a very we very much trust that we come out with a positive result.
Okay, then I'll continue with the other question. For example, there is a Lasse tender that is asking if the first edition of the tender documents already contain a draft version of the contract, or if the contract was just presented during the dialogue. So as mentioned, very, very specific questions that are coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, I will answer that. Actually, we sent out the contract before all the documents were sent out before the dialogue started. So they already had the chance to read all the documents before the dialogue was opened.
Okay, great. I hope, Lasse, that was enough for you. Then we have, sorry for my pronunciation, Kian, who is asking quite a lot related to the payment of consultant and the tendering companies. For example, the first question is related to why didn't you ask your consultant to do a lighting master plan? And then he continued, can you confirm the costs related to the consultant and the payment of the tendering companies? I guess it's really from a city that is willing to replicate your good example. And then he continued with what level of information was contained in the additional tender pack?
I will start with the first part of the question, and I think you might have to ask the second part one more time.
Okay. No
problem. But the master plan was a part of the job for the winner of the project, because the EU legislation says that we cannot choose the specific suppliers of the fixtures beforehand, because it has to be in competition. And if we choose beforehand, then it will not be in competition. So we can, as the city, define to say we want these fixtures for these places and so on, but it has to be a part of the tender process. So that's why the master plan was also put into the tender process.
Okay, then the next question was about also confirmation of the costs which are related to the consultant and the tendering companies. If you could give us overall figures. Or is it a bit too detailed as a question?
Yeah. Yeah, I can get back to you on the total cost, because actually we did a contract with the consultants in the beginning of the process, but it turned out to be much more complicated than that, and we needed the advisors' help much more than we expected in the beginning. So I can come back with a full number of the cost. The cost in the beginning was 1 million Danish kroner. I think it's in euros. It must be 150,000 euros.
Wow.
From the beginning, but we added a lot of hours afterwards. So I will come back if that is interesting for you.
Yeah, it is interesting, I guess, for every city willing to replicate. And also, he asked also what was the level of information that was contained in the first pack? If it was it again very detailed, or is something that you built up throughout all this the 5 meetings that you had?
Actually, it was very detailed from the beginning. We took the old tender material and documents, and we actually did a draft of the contract itself, and that was our best suggestions on how the document would look like with our requirements. But we just experienced during the process that we needed to be much more specific, and we needed to do our or do the setup in the documents much more easy and much more strict, so that no one was in doubt what was the requirements. One example could be what was the specific requirements that they could not go around, and what was some requirements that they could do a little slight different, and what was just to inform them. So we did like 3 kinds of categories on the requirements to help ourselves. So it was we actually we were very surprised that we need to make a change like that, but it really did do a better kind of pack afterwards.
Wow, okay. Another question is related to, you already mentioned that things that the technology and the lampposts that you implement will allow to integrate further smart solution. But Britta from Havemann from the city of Berlin was asking, how will you proceed with the insurance issue? Very specific question that we are getting. I will already anticipate that I will need to cut some of the questions because they are really keep on coming and we don't have that much time left. Would you like to answer this one?
I will try. We are just now starting to, because we have had this renewal project as the beginning of our contract. The renewal project has just finished last month. So we're just now starting to see what the possibilities are to open up and use the network in other solutions and other for other parts that are not related to the lighting. So I can't answer that question yet because we haven't fully developed the scheme for how will we implement other parts yet.
Then another question, it's about the future. So how do you plan to react to newer innovation? So about your long-term contract after the end of the contract, I guess this is a really long-term question.
Well, since we are hoping to have a partnership with Citylum, or we have a partnership with Citylum, we are hoping to develop together with Citylum. And now that, because we have this remote control on the light fixtures, you can say, we've taken a step from only having hardware to also having software. So we can implement, for example, sensors and then change the software for the lighting so that the lighting will respond to sensors without having to change the specific fixtures to new fixtures.
very much. There is a further question from Lucio De Marco, who's asking about the national legislation, but I think here in this case is more European Union legislation, and there are two levels of directive that are influencing the kind of tendering procedure that you have to, and the negotiation procedure that you have to put in place. So I hope I answered directly, so you don't have to answer to this question. Then we got an additional question related to the master plan and the fact that about the guidance, but considering the level of time, I'm afraid we will have to stop the question. The two speakers have been kind enough to offer their contact details, so I guess I've invited all of you to drop them an email, and I also invite both Louise and Stina to disseminate further and to speak more about this incredibly interesting example that they've put in place in the city of Copenhagen, because considering the amount of question and the amount of need to get to know really more about the detail of your tendering procedure, the kind of information that you put in the pack, I really invite you to use further means to disseminate this best practice. We can talk about it maybe later together with the SPICE project, how to do this further. Would you like to add anything last sentence? Otherwise, Louise or Stina?
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you for listening.
And thank you very much for all of you for listening. Thank you for all the questions. Again, our apologies for being unable to answer all of them, but they are all very detailed, and it will require our speakers to also go back to their, documents in order to be able to answer all of them. So once again, I invite you to get directly in contact with them if you have very specific question. I think I would like, I would like to thank you, the SPICE project, for organizing this webinar, for hosting it especially. Here together with me, I have Yan Ying Lee from the Artico organization, who was very kind in supporting me throughout the webinar. I would like to thank once again Louise and Stine and the City of Copenhagen for implementing these very interesting procurement methods and for sharing it with us. For any additional question, you will receive the presentation and the link to the recording in few days, and you are very welcome to come back to us for additional questions or ideas you might want to share. Thank you very much.